I cannot believe it. It finally happened. My worst nightmare came true. Hello, my loves. 'Tis Miss Milan checking in. That's crazy. I have an intro. I have a signature intro. I ain't even try. Hello to all my diamond dolls, divas, and dons. It is I, Miss Milan, checking in once again. Today is story time. First, let me acknowledge that there was a time and space in my life where I would have been so mortified and embarrassed by a situation like this that I never would have talked about it. If you've read my first book, When We Were Young, you know that my platform was built off of my struggles with and continued overcoming of depression. One of the things I teach people to do when they're working to overcome depression is to find new events, find community, find events that resonate with who you are and things that you want to do. That day, I was sitting in my office and I realized I've been doing a great job of getting up, drinking my water, exercising, but the social part felt like it was lacking a bit. I reached out to a woman I had met at an event recently and I said, hey, I'm going to this healing event. I would love if you came, if you have some time. It's right after work, so let me know. And this woman reached back and she's like, oh yeah, let's do it. So I'm stoked because number one, I put myself out there, somebody new, trying new things. Number two, I was taking more steps because this journey is continuous. I was taking more steps to uplift myself, do new things. We get to the event and the space is beautiful. It is, you walk in and it felt like a breath of fresh air. I am full of life and personality everywhere I go. So I speak to everybody in the room. Hey y'all, hey everybody, how you doing? Like, best friend, the Southern stuff we do. So I speak to everyone and I make myself cozy up front. At some point I realized I didn't have a yoga mat because I believe I scheduled to go to this event while I was already out working. But I get a yoga mat, I sit, and we begin. Now, the first healer who went up, this woman was powerful. And what I found the most powerful about her was her own story. In her story, she shared her past that led her to teaching breath work to others. And it wasn't cute by any means. Let me just put that out there. What I found most interesting about her story was the imperfection in it. A lot of times as healers or anyone who's in a position where people look up to you, we feel like there is a version of ourselves that we can't be. I know that people who work in corporate go through this often. We feel like we have to compartmentalize ourselves and section them off, especially as healers, because we're saying to ourselves, well, I have to keep it together so that everyone who leans on me can have a support to lean on. Even though I may be breaking down inside, I have to be stronger than everybody else. So to hear her story really, really inspired me. And as we moved through the exercises, I found myself becoming tight in my chest, in my heart. I found myself becoming angry almost at the feelings that were arising, and the feeling of anger itself was arising separate from me being angry about being angry. We had a portion where we all wrote, where we had a woman facilitate a writing portion, and we all wrote about what healing meant to us. And as I began to write, the anger just began to boil. I mean, I am hot right now. And I can't quite put my finger on why. As everyone's going around and they're talking about their healing journeys and how they've healed and how healing was this glorious process for them, I felt overwhelmingly compelled to share a truth that I knew wasn't just my own. How many times have we been sitting in circles like this, or we're sitting at these conferences talking about women's success and empowerment and money, and everyone's talking about how they made all of this money after they started believing in themselves, but no one is talking about being in the thick of things. So I made a decision to share. And I told them, I'm not happy. I'm not happy. Healing for me has not always been happiness. There have been moments of joy. There have been moments of bliss. There have been moments of absolute clarity. There have also been moments of chaos and disorder and loss of control. And to acknowledge the bliss, I had to also acknowledge the chaos because they worked hand in hand. And when I tell you I was so afraid, prior to that moment, I had been so afraid to share because, like said, to be a healer, to have a platform, you have to appear perfect in this 2022 America. And perfect means that even your imperfection is curated. Even that one post where you're down and out or you're crying, even that has to be planned. There's this idea that healers can't be human, that you're not allowed to experience sadness or anger or jealousy or bitterness or resentment. As a healer, you're not allowed to have those feelings. I was afraid of the judgment. I was afraid of criticism. I was afraid of feeling the wrong thing. So for years, I went through all of these emotions, and God bless my best friend, became my emotional dumping ground. Yes, I tried to process and get through things the best I could, but I really didn't know how, to be honest, because I was ashamed of what I was going through. I was ashamed of having $2 in my account or negative. And I'm not talking about for one day. I'm talking about for days on end. I was ashamed of being an entrepreneur and hitting those lulls where I had no income. I was ashamed of getting a car repossessed. I was ashamed of the guilt that I carried from my family because I knew that I was more powerful than that, but I couldn't let it go. I was ashamed of it. So I never talked about it. I never told anyone. I made this platform of being a healer from this place of perfection, only giving people the curated moments, the perfect picture, giving them the perfect caption, because I'm a writer too, the pinnacle of happiness and getting over it. Yeah, meanwhile carrying shame about everything that I couldn't get over. And when I shared all of that, someone said something, I believe the girl that I was with said something so profound to me. Anger is okay. Anger also has a place in the healing journey. It's not something to relegate to the deepest, darkest corners of shame and embarrassment. It is a sign that something positive is working in you, that the fire is consuming. I never knew that being angry was okay. I am a Southern girl. I am a nice person. I come from places where you look down on people who get angry, who can't control themselves, meanwhile suppressing your own. And that gave me such a freedom that after the event, I wanted to thank the woman that I came with. I wanted to share that with her. The freedom of saying it out loud, of speaking a truth of ugly emotions that we deem unnecessary or unworthy, that don't have a place for us, or so we think. And to finally get that revelation and breakthrough that this too is a part of the process, I was overjoyed and I was ecstatic to share that with her. And I even went on to share with her that the place that she and I met, the woman whose event it was is a friend of hers. I would say a mutual friend, but she and I are not friends. We don't know each other in that way, but we know of each other and we've been friendly. I met the other woman at a party years ago and she was super cool. I mean, like that girl, super cool, super fly. And we had an awesome time together. And as time went on, things began to occur in my personal life and my professional life that I later realized were chipping away at the confidence that I once had. And I began to look at this woman a bit differently. Not because of anything she'd done, but because of everything she'd done. I started to see her accomplishments and felt like she was moving faster than I was. And she had access and resources that I just didn't have. Lack mindset. Access to resources and people and things, and she's going to these cool events, and I'm still trying to get my career off the ground, and my parents said I ain't shit, and I just, and this person doesn't want to be with me, and all of these things begin to color my mind. And over time, I sat with the feelings. Because let's be honest, it's 2022. It's social media America, social media world. If we sit here and act like we're not comparing ourselves to the next person, because the thing is, what I realize is a lot of people don't want to talk about that. They want to let somebody else talk about it so they can judge them. But the truth is, you just as susceptible as to the nonsense as we are. It's programmed that way to make you look and feel like you're missing out and feel like you're not doing enough. And that's exactly what I did. I played into it because of other spaces in my life where I felt inadequate or unworthy. What I loved about this woman, though, was how sweet she was. Real talk. Have you ever tried to hate on a sweet person? It's so hard. It's so hard because they ain't did nothing wrong. They ain't did nothing wrong to you. And then you start thinking, they ain't did nothing wrong to me. Why am I looking at her like this? Oh, I'm feeling insecure. I'm feeling jealous because I'm comparing pictures of her life to what I know that I'm going through on a personal level. Damn. And what insecurity in the self does, it says to you that it's just me. I'm the only one going through this because I'm unworthy. It's something wrong with me. That's why I'm going through this, because I've done something wrong. They just got it right. They have more than I do. That's why they are where they are. They're prettier than I am. That's why they are what they were. They went to this school. Timing. It's not your time. It's just not your time. And I was sharing with her that recognizing that feeling of anger reminded me of when I had to recognize that feeling of jealousy, which the young woman in question, I actually had a conversation with her and I told her like, girl, I really was feeling a way for a couple of years and it had nothing to do with you. It had everything to do with me. And I thank you as a woman for being a catalyst, for being who you are. And that being a catalyst to me accepting myself and being who I am. It was just a wonderful full circle moment. So understanding that anger also was an emotion that we tend to look at as bad and useless, but it also has its place, was a moment that brought me to an emotional space that I'd never been to before. I wanted to share that with her and thank her for being there and being a witness and a safe space for me to have that breakthrough and to also share what I learned. So boom, some time passes. Why do we do that? Why do we as people of color love? So boom. Okay, so boom. Time passes and I hear from her once or twice and we're just kind of chit-chatting, and I don't really hear from her a whole bunch. I'm not thinking anything of it. We're adults. I've learned that lesson too along the way, that we're adults and people have different time schedules, and I may hear from you this day. I may hear from you in a week or two or a month. But anyways, so I wake up one morning and a friend had called, so it jolted me awake. But I'm handling that situation, and as I'm on the phone, I check my messages and I have a message from this woman. And it says, first I want to thank you for the time that we spent together. I really did enjoy it. I wanted to talk to you about this privately, and I wasn't really sure how to say it. So I don't want to forge a new relationship with you. Anyone who was jealous of my friend, my best friend, past or present, that's not a new relationship that I want to entertain. Now, beyond that, don't feel obligated to keep reading because this is my personal opinion. Disclaimer. Based off of what you shared with me, I don't think that you are in a place spiritually or emotionally to help others heal. You want to be very careful about the energy that you carry and it transferring to others in that space. Probably a wrap up. Again, this is my personal opinion, and I hope that you receive it in the love that it was intended with. I cannot believe it. It finally happened. My worst nightmare came true. So, and I read the message. The first thing I did was scan my body. How do you feel immediately? What do you feel? What is your body telling you? And as you can see, I'm going up my chakra column. I felt heat. Not in the pit of my stomach, but more in my solar plexus area. And I paused and I said, holy shit, this is my worst fear come true. That I would open my mouth, I would speak up, I would show myself, I would let someone in, and they didn't like what they saw, or I felt judged, or I felt criticized, or they did judge me, or they did criticize me, or they chose not to accept me. Whatever the adverse reaction, that has been one of my biggest fears, okay? As I felt the heat, I realized it wasn't going anywhere. It wasn't sinking into my root or my sacral. It wasn't moving up into my heart or my chest or my throat, tightening it up, or my head, or making my head spin, or all of these things that I've experienced when there were emotions that I did not know how to process or could not identify. There was none of that. I simply messaged her back and I said, okay, I respect that. I understand that. And I respect anyone who knows and understands what it means to make a principled decision. Regarding your opinion, I say it was delivered with grace, and I'll leave it at that. I mentioned that I was okay with what I shared with her, okay with the space that I occupied That's fine with me. This was such a place of evolution for me. Number one, rejection. Let's talk about it. Those of us who've dealt with insecurity, a lot of us deal with a fear of rejection. If you grew up in a narcissistic home or you have narcissistic relationships, people pleasing, fear of rejection, always trying to be liked. As a Libra, always trying to be liked. All of this played a part in the character of self that I'd built before. And over the years of dismantling and learning to love and accept who I am without changing who I am, without changing who it is I'm supposed to be. After trying to change it and realize you don't actually change, you just grow up. Whoop, different day. I felt gratitude because in that moment I realized that fear of rejection had been released. Okay, you don't rock with me? I rock with me. Okay, you don't accept me? I accept me. And it's no love lost. None. And when I sat more with her opinion, I started to be able to break apart what it was that I was afraid of in the first place. I really was afraid of someone saying, well, who the hell are you to be teaching anybody about anything? Because you went through depression and you're still dealing with pain from your family, and you're still, and sometimes you don't. Imposter syndrome. A lot of times we think that our perfection makes everything all right. There's no progress in perfection. There's no growth there. To all my healers out there, let me tell you one thing. You do us no service from a space of perfection. We don't need you to be perfect. We need you to be present. Sweetie, if you are someone who has been through something, who better to tell the story than you? If you've been through the trauma of abuse or assault, who better to tell someone how to get through and over and accept and love themselves but you? I was listening to a sermon by Sarah Jakes Roberts. She's one of the few people that I listen to sermons from. And she has this one in particular. Go listen to it. Victory over insecurity. In that moment when I read that message, I rejoiced. Because I had victory, hey, over my insecurity, hey, and I had victory, hey, over that jealousy, hey, and I had victory, hey, over bitterness and resentment, and because I could acknowledge it, recognize it, accept it, and still love myself and say, hey girl, in my Lady Gaga voice, you go through things just like everybody else. You are human just like everybody else, and you feel just like everybody else. The difference is being able to see yourself in everybody, being able to recognize yourself and accept not the changes that you need to make, but the perfection that you were already born into. Oh. One thing that we all should be mindful of in this journey to our diamond lives and to our greatest version of ourselves. We are all a reflection of one another. It doesn't mean you agree. It means you have compassion because you can see yourself in them. You can see when you were hurt and what that made you do and how that made you feel. You can see when you were broken and say, you know what? I've been there. I've lived long enough. I've been there too. I may not have done what you did after it happened. Y'all know my favorite saying, no judgment, just a little shade. I ain't here to judge you. I am here to see you and remind myself that you are me. Namaste. I honor the divine in you. I see it because I know myself. Moral of the story is, even the things that you believe were built to break you ultimately hold a lesson for you to grow from. You don't get to a place, you grow through a season. Learn to take your victories and learn to own your power in your space. Nobody can tell your narrative better than you. Nobody knows what you've been through. All they know is the vantage point from which they sit. Nobody can tell you where you don't belong or where you should be, or ask you who are you to be there, because the question is, who are you not to be there, honey? Who are you not to be using the things that you've gone through and are currently going through to uplift somebody else? Who are you not to answer? But I digress. You have a unique space and purpose in this lifetime, all because of the broken pieces that have come together to create this diamond that you are. Who you are supposed to be is not contingent on how others feel about it. And it damn sure ain't contingent on how you feel about it. You're not here to change yourself. You were made in flawed perfection. You are here to accept the fullness and the power and the magnitude of who you are, so that you can reach back and help somebody else. Y'all be blessed out there. I am Miss Milan. Follow me on Instagram at I am Miss MISS Milan MILAN, and make sure you check out my masterclass, The Breakdown to Break Through, where we talk about limiting beliefs, we talk about mindset, and we talk about all the things that you've been thinking that are standing in your way from getting you to a fertile foundation. You can check that out at www.thediamondlife.co. I'm just gonna pretend like this light didn't just try to die on me, and we just gonna, it's fine. It's fine. I love y'all.